Welcome to the Bible Forum. It is September 22nd, 2019. I'm Warren Sprouse. Bible Forum is here every Sunday night from 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern for your viewing enjoyment. You can also watch on the website, thebibleforum.net, and catch all of the videos as they roll. You can catch them on the YouTube, Bible Forum YouTube. You can also get them over on our Facebook page. Bible Forum is a ministry of alternatives, biblical counseling, and education. It's a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. All donations are gladly received. Your donations guarantee, assure the continuation of this particular ministry, and they're all tax deductible. Just click the donate button on the website, thebibleforum.net. And then watch right here live or throughout the week, however. Sign up for our weekly email. I only send one email out a week, Saturday afternoon. Just tells you what's coming up. You can get that or not. It's up to you, but we'd love to have you on our list. To begin with this evening, I wanted to share some thoughts about the border. Our southern border. A number of unaccompanied children, they're called UACs, unaccompanied children, entering the United States during fiscal year 2019 has grown to levels never before seen. This is according to Jonathan Hayes, director of HHS's Office of Refugee Resettlement, a report that he made to Congress just this past Thursday. According to his written testimony before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, DHS referred more than 67,000 UACs to the Office of Refugee Resettlement as of September 16, 2019. That is the highest number in the program's history. Citing alleged violations of the Illinois Biometric Information Policy Act, a 25-page case out of Georgia claims Home Depot surreptitiously collects and stores your face prints every time you appear in the store. Shows up on the store's security cameras. It enables the retailer to track your behavior, your traverse through their store. As explained in a complaint, quote, defendants begin tracking customers as soon as they enter Home Depot stores. Home Depot's security cameras and its checkout cameras operate on a connected system with facial recognition technology running on the footage that they obtain. As the customer walks through the store and makes their way toward checkout, the facial recognition software tracks every movement through and beyond their purchase. The lawsuit explains that Home Depot's facial recognition systems, which are supposedly framed as a loss prevention effort, work by scanning video footage of the shopper's face, according to them, for certain geometric points, and then storing the data string as a person's face print. The software can then effectively track customers' movements throughout the store and even across multiple store locations to identify suspicious activity. Though the retailer has reportedly remained silent regarding its facial recognition practices, the lawsuit alleges that the technology is used across all 76 Home Depot locations in Illinois. And oh, by the way, Lowe's apparently does the same thing. Tells you kind of where we're headed, doesn't it? Symptoms of depression include poor concentration, low mood, trouble with sleep, lack of enjoyment, whereas anxiety presents as worry, nervousness, irritability, and restlessness. The most commonly prescribed antidepressant barely relieves symptoms of modern depression. That, according to a major study. The largest independent investigation ever undertaken found patients taking sertraline experienced negligible improvements in mood. Published in the Lancet Psychiatry, the study comes amid mounting controversy over increased use of antidepressants in recent decades, with roughly 7.3 million people in England being issued a prescription each and every year. The authors of this report said they were shocked and surprised by the results, calling for the development of new classes of medication. Oh, it's possible the symptoms of depression are actually pointing towards something else. Perhaps overstimulation, lack of proper sleep, or the lack of exercise, poor diet, irrational expectations, uncontrolled selfism, fear, lack of normal parenting. That's, where parents actually guide children through the various phases of development. All of these things are being treated as depression. And none of the pills that are being used, or at least this particular one and those in this family, are next to useless. Some 4 million people filled city streets around the world, according to organizers, in what was expected to be the biggest ever protest against the threat posed to the planet by rising temperatures. They're using a little girl from Great Britain, I think, or Ireland, someplace over there. She came across on a boat that is set up to be efficient so that it does not use up all of the energy and it doesn't put out the wrong stuff. But what we're not told in the article, we had to find out someplace else. The crew that piloted that particular ship was flown in from another country. They then sailed across the ocean to our country so she could have this format. And then apparently they flew them back. Can you spell hypocrisy? China's developed the world's first portable sonic gun. Not for what you think. It's for riot control. This is according to the Chinese Academy of Sciences. It's a rifle-shaped instrument which was jointly developed with military and law enforcement and designed to disperse crowds using focused waves of low-frequency sound. All of this according to the Academy's Technical Institute of Physics and Chemistry website. The device's biological effect would cause extreme discomfort with vibrations in the eardrums, eyeballs, stomach, liver, brain. Who is it that are not affected by this weapon? Well, that would be the people who do not riot in the streets. Watch for it in a neighborhood near you. According to Fox News, the remains of more than 2,200 unborn children have been found at an Illinois home of a former Indiana abortion doctor who died earlier this month. If you keep up with events around the country, you already know that. It's probably the most reported news this month. But the report explained that family members discovered medically preserved fetal remains in the garage of Dr. Ulrich Koffler, who died September 3rd of natural causes. Now, Mr. Buttigieg, who's running for president, is connected to the story. He's that way because Koffler had a clinic in the city where Buttigieg was the mayor. And so reporters asked him for his comment. Well, Buttigieg politicized the investigation, but he forgot to mention that Koffler had a clinic in South Bend where he was the mayor. Here's what he said. I find that news out of Illinois extremely disturbing, and I think it's important that it be fully investigated. I also hope that it does not get caught up in politics at a time when women need access to health care. Of course, this health care is not at all that healthy for the babies he forgot to mention. Margaret Atwood is a Canadian author of a dystopian novel called The Handmaid's Tale. She appeared on television this week on The View, where she issued ominous warnings about climate change. The co-host there, Joy Behar, admitted that she is, quote, obsessed with climate change and asked Atwood her thoughts on how climate change might impact the Earth in coming years. Scientist Atwood said that her main concern was an uptick in vehicular accidents caused by warming oceans spurred on by climate change. Atwood said the climate change will eventually cause a spike in car accidents because less oxygen in the air means less oxygen in the brain. What? Behar said, really? Tell me what bothers you the most. Okay, she said, the thing to keep your eye on is the warmth of the ocean, because if the ocean warms too much, the marine algae that make 60 to 80% of the oxygen we breathe will die, and we'll choke to death. We'll have a lot of traffic accidents, first because our brains will be oxygen starved. You know, if you have no oxygen, you're not going to be worrying about the monster hurricanes. Is that all? No. Also, during the interview, Atwood discussed abortion rights in the United States, saying that if the government was insistent on restricting abortions, it should perhaps be willing to support mothers for the rest of their lives. Quote, now we're approaching a state in which women are essentially being conscripted or drafted the way you would be conscripted or drafted into the army. And my view on that is if you want to do it, you want this state to claim ownership of women's bodies, then you should pay. So if somebody's drafted into the army, they get their food, lodging, and clothing, and medical. All of that is covered. So if you want to do that to women, then you should pay for it. Does that make any sense to you? Yeah, I got an interview, an email advertisement this week for marijuana gummies, claiming they were legal in all 58 states. 50 states. Have you seen the recent advertisement for marijuana cigarettes? A former National House of Representative leader from the Republican Party is on the board, and he's hawking weed. Well, it's probably medicinal, so it'll be okay, right? Where are we going? The Tokyo Electric Power Nuclear Station, Tokyo Electric Power's nuclear power station, the Fukushima Daiichi, experienced 3 massive meltdowns a few years back, 7 to be sure, not 8 maybe, and they're running out of room to store the radioactive water. They had to shut those things down. They had to pull all that water out. But now they don't know what to do about this phosphorescent water. Well, addressing the issue, Japan's environmental minister, Yoshiaki Harada, said in a news conference September 10th of this year, and this according to The Guardian, the only option will be to drain it into the sea and dilute it. That'll work, right? We're talking a huge amount of water from about a half dozen damaged reactors. Just let them leak out into the ocean and everything will be okay. It'll all get absorbed. And finally, San Francisco's homeless situation. Oh, and the EPA. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the Environmental Protection Agency will issue a notice in less than a week to the city of San Francisco over its homeless problem and attendant pollution. Trump and officials in San Francisco and Los Angeles have been at odds over what the president believes is their failure to tackle the growing number of people living on the streets. Trump told them they're in serious violation. They have to be cleaned up. Trump went on to say the issue was an environmental one because tremendous pollution, including syringes used by homeless addicts to inject drugs, was flowing into the Pacific Ocean from Bay Area cities. Early in the day, U.S. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson rejected requests from California for more money to fight homelessness. He said the Trump administration was already doing its part. Governor Gavin Newsom and other Democrat elected officials, including the mayors of Los Angeles and San Francisco, asked Trump this week for federal funds to expand programs to provide stable living environments for the homeless. Carson responded, "Your letter seeks federal dollars for California from hardworking American taxpayers, but fails to admit that your state and local policies have played a major role in the current crisis." Since Trump's 2016 election, California state officials have filed dozens of lawsuits over the administration's actions on a host of issues from immigration and health care to the environment. On Wednesday of this week, the two sides went to war over who should set U.S. standards for vehicle emissions and electric cars. The first feint in which it could be a long battle, whether in California or in Washington, we don't know yet. Trump was in California this week for a series of fundraisers leading up to his 2020 re-election campaign, and he criticized the homeless problem in the Democratic strongholds of California's biggest cities. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, a Democrat, said in a video posted on Facebook Tuesday, "It's no secret that I have disagreed with you on almost everything, Mr. President, but if you are in your heart willing to save lives along us, we know what works here." This week, Governor Newsom said he had made housing affordability a priority, committing $1.75 billion to the creation of new housing and encouraging or forcing cities to approve new home construction. We talked about it here several weeks or months ago, how that they wanted to build little apartments in people's backyards. The population of homelessness in the nation's second largest city has increased by 16% just in the last year. An estimated 130,000 people are homeless in California on any given day, more than any other state in the union. That according to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Homeless advocates have cited low housing vacancy as a main contributor to homelessness. Most likely it's the liberal government's willingness to give people money and benefits for not working. The Los Angeles metropolitan area has roughly 4% vacancy rate, one of the nation's lowest, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Most people know what the problem really is. It's a state in which city government encourages the homeless by letting them set up housekeeping on city streets. Los Angeles County officials on Tuesday, however, took action in line with one of Carson's recommendations, which was to give police more power to clear homeless encampments. The Board of Supervisors voted to join in a legal challenge to a federal appeals court ruling that bars cities from arresting or citing homeless people for camping on sidewalks unless they can all be offered shelter. Have you seen pictures of this stuff? People walking out into the street to get around a huge tent erected on the sidewalk. City blocks filled with people just camping out along the edges. And the smell? Outrageous, according to people who've been there. Why does a city mayor let this happen? Well, he feels sorry for these people. They have no place to go. All these people have mothers and fathers. Most of these people have siblings. Many of them have children. And there's aunts and uncles and cousins. And there's all sorts of people who could take them in. They don't want them. And the homeless don't want to be there. They like it where it is. Did you like it? No. But it's better than the alternative. What's that? Get a job. Be responsible. That's the homeless problem in America. Irresponsibility. And our leaders, they feel badly for them. So do I.